Welcome, beautiful, beloved family of light. So much love to all of you as I welcome you to this episode of the Ascension Hour with Rev HoniB and her incredible guests. And today's been a much anticipated gathering with the beautiful, amazing, sacred, galactic Lori Spagna. Welcome, 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 my dear sister. Thank you for coming on and accepting this invitation.
Thank you so much for having me, Reverend HoniB. I'm so grateful to be here and excited and really deeply honored. I just see you as such a beautiful goddess, and I'm so happy to know you.
As I am, and I'm so excited for the wisdom that you're going to share to the audience today. So thank you so much for accepting this invitation. And we're going to get into some fantastic things today on this ascension. And before we start, as always, let us just ground in this energy. We're going to always put the prayer in, as the audience knows. So let us just uncross our legs and close our eyes. Let us take that deep in-breath into our heart and hold the breath as we drop into the center of that crystalline, diamond, pure white light inside, and make connection with that essence within, and release the breath through the mouth. And let's take another deep in-breath into our heart, slowing that breath and holding the breath into that sacred, amazing, pure white light as we draw the attention downward to our lower chakra, passing through the Earth Star chakra, connecting all the way to the heart of SophiaKryst's crystalline diamond heart, and making that connection from heart to heart and releasing the breath downward. And let us take the next deep in-breath into our heart through this horizontal plane and grounding it into the sacred, dazzling, crystalline white light in our heart, and holding the breath as we draw the attention upward through the higher chakras, passing through the soul star chakra, through all the planes, all the way in the great central sun, and to the center of source in its crystalline diamond white light, and releasing the breath. And this next final in-breath, let us draw the in-breath even slower, even deeper in this horizontal plane, all the way inside the heart, as we connect by holding this breath. We connect in the vertical axis and allowing the breath to release from its center in this photonic sphere of light, all the way out through all the bodies to the outer field of our plasma light body, and breathing it all the way out. As each of us are now completely enclosed in this sphere of dazzling, pure golden white light, and anything less than the divine perfection of this crystalline light may not interact in any which way on this call. And the wisdom of this pure white light may come through in ease and peace for the highest good of all on this call. Recognition that all is blessed by the power of that white, pure, crystalline light from the heart of source, as we ground the energy, alchemizing it in this plane of consciousness into the heart of Sophia Gaia, and let it be so. And so it is as we begin this ascension hour, welcoming sacred Lori Spagna with her wisdom that is here to be shared upon our heart today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hello, hello, hello.
Wow, what a beautiful opening.
Yeah,
Thank you so much for that.
You're welcome. We ground in this fantastic sphere of light because a lot of magnificence is always shared within the frequency, and that magnificent frequency that you're bringing through for the audience, Lori. So thank you so much. And we just drop right in, because this ascension journey, as we've had the pleasure of speaking week after week after week with different presenters, it's some holy shizzle, isn't it? Like with up and down and all around, and we get like, we wake up in a day, some days it's really peachy, some days it's like slam hard, and here it is, and you just moved, so congratulations. And you know, and where are you? Where are you in your ascension in this golden moment, Lori, that you like to share with our audience?
Well, you know, I think where am I on my ascension? It's really about bringing the consciousness and mastery into my everyday activities, into my way of living and being. I think that's, you know, I think when we start on the journey, we sort of don't know necessarily what it is. And so we have to find within us that connection with our source. And we have to start in, you know, not only is there a healing aspect of all of our wounded bits and traumatized aspects and our ancestral lineage, and so much activating and awakening of the divinity that is us, that we have to start reclaiming and reigniting and sort of realigning with. But beyond that, you know, and that's ongoing, but beyond that, it's like, how do we bring that level of mastery into our lives? How do we operate on a daily basis in all of our activities with that mastery? And that means really being conscious of what our thoughts are doing, how our beliefs are aligning us with our reality, where our emotions are going and flowing, what emotions we're allowing ourselves to process. You know, it's the same thing if you look at it in a physical, you know, world. Do we delete it? Do we delegate it? Do we manage it? Like, what are we supposed to do with our emotions? Because that's really significant right now. And how we utilize the physical reality, the physical body, and the physical reality around us. Because in the remembering that everything in the external world is reflection of self, reflection of source and self, and the unification of source and self, then that's when we're really taking full responsibility for self and all actions, reactions, responses, and everything that's the initiation of those things. So the initiation always begins with the consciousness that is us. So to me, that's the line of mastery, right? It's one thing to start to awaken and to get into bliss states. That's all beautiful and wonderful. And it's another thing to do wonderful work. You know, when I say wonderful work, you know, crystal singing bowls, or, you know, teach and lead and healing circles, all those things, they're all so important. But in our everyday lives, walking the path of mastery as an everyday human, interacting in it, in everyday world.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at now. That's what I'm really working on. I'm really working on that. It's not always easy to be.
No.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny, because I'm giggling, laughing, because we've had this conversation with other presenters. We're all speaking of the same thing. We're in this moment, as you know, being on the leading edge of ascension. It's come to this place of real true embodiment. And what is that embodiment? Because none of the ascension journey truly has been easy, because we didn't come to experience it being easy. There is a lot of tumultuous experience along the way, and then you get these pockets of real bliss, joy, and all of that. But when you need to ground it, it needs to pass through this emotional body to then come in this physical body to become anchored, alchemized. And holy, like really holy shit, so what an experience it is to know it on a conscious level, on this thought field. And then there's another one when the emotional body begins to experiencing it. And then there's a whole other experience when it's trying to come into this embodiment. And it becomes in the everyday life, how you experience these higher understandings, understandings, awarenesses, encoded light within here and bring it here, because we do face all kinds of things throughout the day. And there's not a clear answer, but it's only a muscle that I feel it's like every day another muscle is being given the opportunity to be practiced or flexed, like from here, that muscle of mastery. And it's like little by little, right? This muscle of past mastery getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And there's a lot of falls with it, a whole lot of it.
A lot of falls. Is that what I heard? Falls?
Yeah, a lot of falls with it.
Yeah, I mean, it's part of, I think it's part of spiritual maturity. Yeah. Because I think especially when you step out as a sort of leader teacher of the ascension journey, it means that you're kind of like paving the ground in front of others in a sense. And so, I used to 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I remember I used to like argue with my team in the non-physical, like it's the blind leading the blind down here. Like, we don't know what we're doing. Like, and everything is, we're working with the non-physical to try to navigate our way. I don't really think that, I think that part of the ascension journey is the recognition that there really is no one who has gone before us. Yes, we have teachers in the non-physical and we have masters in the non-physical who have really walked this path. But we don't have a lot of people on the ground who have really walked this path before, because it has never really happened before. It has never, we've never had this time, space, reality before. And, things can be written about and gurus on stages can talk about it, but that is not the ascension journey. That is somebody who lives in a sort of, in an isolated situation, is not integrating in the physical world in the same way that we are, where we interact every day with everyday kinds of issues. And so, yeah, I think that's the challenge. And I think that, there are three, other than all of those regular things that we talk about, like, doing the personal healing, taking, that is one of the biggest things that I think people still don't quite get, is the concept of taking full responsibility for our experience, which really originates with thoughts, beliefs, emotions, belief systems, unconscious programming, energetics, the energies that we emit. But other than that stuff, the healing and, the healing and the transmutation and the sacred circles and the, the meditations and all those practices, really such a huge part of it now is you have to be able to self-reflect on an ongoing and daily basis. Where am I at? You have to be able to like really, who am I? Where am I at every moment? Just like you asked. And you have to be able to really also self-correct and self-redirect, because it's very easy to get kind of, washed around in the waves right now, the ascension waves. And the whole idea is to find our next highest harmonic, to always be sort of in the ebb and flow of the next highest harmonic. It's definitely really helpful as well to know the specific portal days, which I know those, like most ascension teachers do know those portal days or those portal windows, so that we can work in harmony with them. Because it's one thing to sort of be doing it on your own. It's another thing to really be navigating with your divine team and working with, in agreement with the phases that we are going through as a collective. So portal days, portal windows certainly really help with that too. Yeah.
Yeah. You brought up a couple of things, Lori, that I want to I would like to expand on. The practicality is that simplification in here, and this instruction manual. When we came in, we didn't come with an alchemized instruction manual at all. So the instruction manual was encoded in our DNA. And within these like time release capsules, each one of us sort of like released those time release capsules. So then that became online, like the book of inner revelation came on. Our instruction was revealed to us as our own inner revelation. Then we could see the instruction and the navigation. And that I feel has been a part of us withdrawing the frequencies from the outer to begin to start learning the mechanics of this magnificent creation, this fantastic high advanced technology that we are. And in the creation, that creation in its love that's created us, to begin from love, start operating it and facing these things. And what I found with so many of us, we purposely didn't come in with this so that, as you said, we don't have one that has gone before us, but we are all going through it so that we can share this data and the frequency of its light with one another. So there are moments like this we come on where we have been able to like gotten one area like, oh, we got this one navigating, working. So then that information through its light can come online. So we get to share it with each other. And how incredible, valuable that's been, I found, through social media, through our connection, through the gathering. So we can give voice to that. And so that becomes also available to others. And to know this ascension journey is not an individual journey. There is an individual component, yet it is definitely a collective experience. And there is a celebration in the midst of absolute chaos, like totally.
I love that. Oh, yeah.
That perfection in the absolute insane imperfection. I've learned to giggle and joy through it now, because I feel like I'm now in this place that there's a couple of things I've gotten a grasp on. Okay, I get this now. So another thing happened this morning. So I had this shock that happened this morning for me personally. And I started cracking up. I have to say, Lori, I was like, okay, I totally see this now. It doesn't pull me anymore. I see it and I'm giggling because now I got the mechanics of it, you know? So my question for you, for our audience, what have you gotten down? You're like, I got this. And then you say, okay, I can definitely say I got this part, and here's what I want to share. And then, okay, these other ones, I still don't have it, not mastery down at all. That's in the work in progress.
You know, this is the one thing I want to say about that. And I think there's a lot of things I feel like I've got down in terms of like, as a healer, as a practitioner, as an intuitive, as a master of my unique crafts. I feel like there's certain things that I'm just so good at that. And it's because I've developed my crafts, you know, my skills. You know, when it comes to working and being of service to another, you know, in their time, and allowing source to work through me and interacting with the higher realms and bringing through channeled information that may be from their own higher self or their own team or their own animal companion that's there for them. I think that's where believe it or not, that's one of my areas where I am in my mastery, because I've really gotten so good at working with the non-physical and with the teams in the non-physical, with the masters, the angels, the guides, you know, inside of the records, with the universal laws, with the higher consciousness, and with my own divine collective, and unifying with my own collective to allow what's meant to come through, especially when I'm in service. Like more than any other time, I'm really good at it when it's not about me and it's about another, and being of service and contribution to them and to their most benevolent best. So, and I wouldn't say though that I've, you know, like, I've come to learn that the more we know, the less I know. The more I realize, the more there is room for even more growth. And it's always, to me, it's kind of a signal, like very early on, we tend to think we've got it down, we know it all, we've discovered some master key. And that really is usually the sign of the beginning of the journey, because that's just the door that opens into the infinite. And what is infinite? To think that I could possibly have anything down at the same time is like, it's almost ridiculous, because we are infinite beings with infinite resource, infinitely expanding, infinitely growing, with infinite capabilities and infinite potential that we have no idea about still. And that's always been the most exciting thing to me, is like, how do we bring in the non-physical of the unknown? We don't need another book written about the same thing and regurgitated. We don't need another channel to tell us. I don't think we need another channel to tell us we are love. I think we know that. And I get it. There's some people who don't yet realize it, but I think for those of us who are really dedicated to this path, what we're looking for is that which is unknown. At least that for me is like that which is unknown, that can further improve, enhance, and benefit us all, and can really improve the quality of life on earth for all living beings and for Gaia herself. So I don't know, that's a mouthful right there, but that's what I'm most
for that. Because why are we sharing this? What's so important, like with this, the reason why I asked that question, I've come to recognize this area, that there's an area you finally got. It's so important to recognize it within yourself. You got this, because without even like allowing it, that you got this part, the other ones will not open up, because there's so many other possibilities right after that. So there's this thing that I have found, that usually, like we said, that comfort area, that mastery area of service to others, but that service to self has been like an area that sometimes within, like, I know there's certain areas in me, I definitely don't have it down. No, I do not have down. Like when I see an animal being hurt on purpose and my emotions don't go nuts. No, I don't have that down. For me to stay in my lane and feel the love and compassion, but what I'm witnessing. No, I don't have that down yet. I can flat out say that. There are areas I don't have down, when there are other areas I got it down, and like in the human experience that is experiencing, like I cannot, like till it's still right now, to see an animal in front of me being hurt, like literally, I'll lose my crap, I lose it, because I don't have that down to stay here and not yet. I haven't developed that.
But is it possible that would be like an unreal? I don't know if that's something you would want to have down. Like I don't think we're meant to be. I think we're meant to find that new divine neutrality and still maintain our human sensitivity of real caring. I don't know, that is maybe it's because you said
that's why I'm asking this, because there are areas we don't have, like, for example, right now there is, I was born in the Middle East, Lori, and right now there is absolute rise in this revolution with there is the rise through the sacred divine feminine in Iran, and left and right they're killing people, but nothing is being shown on major media at all on purpose. So it is to stay here, okay, and not get pulled is a mastery to recognize that is taking place. There's a divine purpose with it. So I feel like there's some areas that we do very well with, and some areas not quite yet. Ultimately, is to be able to trust that there is that divine plan, right? And that all of this is part of it, and be able to be in your center. And there's wobbly areas that we are in our center, and there are areas not yet, not in the center. And that's what is important for the audience to know. No, even we can be leaders. There are areas we definitely are not in our center, not yet, because it is a continuous journey till we are able to come to our center with everything that we got to face to come in that place.
Yeah. Well, what I'll say is, now that you elaborated on that, what I would add is this, is that I think when one starts to have a kind of sort of what I call it, sort of a visionary perspective about the reason, what this is all about, in a sense, is that allows me to navigate those kinds of experiences where there's extreme, just such wrongness, what we would call wrongness, and such, like, so much. Yeah, I mean, it's hard not to judge that as ridiculousness, because it's like, how can anybody inflict such harm and pain on another living being?
Yeah.
Any reason. So that absurdity. But the reason I find that I can typically navigate that with a little more heart-centered, divine acceptance and allowance, is that I do understand from the visionary perspective that this reality was created for us to have the experience of duality. But within the experience of duality, we all have a free will choice that allows us to basically choose. And once we recognize what the choices are, the big picture choices, because there's infinite choices. The big picture choice is you get to choose the side of the shadow, the side of the dark, or you get to choose the side of the light. And then you get to play on either side. Now you can attempt to walk the middle ground too, which is a side of the light, which is a path of light to me overall, because the middle ground is more or less where the divine resides. But you're choosing in the game of duality the side of the light or the side of the dark overall. And when you choose that, you become so more fully, wholly, and completely aligned with love, with acceptance, with peace, with harmony. Internally you vibrate there, it becomes less easy to throw you off when those energies are so well anchored in all of your bodies, not just your physicality, not just your emotional body, not just your mental body, all levels and layers, your light body, your spiritual body, and beyond, because we are multidimensional beings with so many levels and layers of light. So the more we are permeating through our entirety, that those pure frequencies, the easier it is, in a sense, to walk that path of light. And then when you see that stuff that's going on in the shadow, you recognize, this is why I'm here, because I can elevate, shift, and change that, even remotely, through consciousness, through energy, through working with universal law, through working with free will, through working with the divine, and through various commands and energy patterns and all the tools we learn. So we become a conduit for the light. And so in the recognition of this dualistic experience and making a choice, not only, and I know you know this, where not only can we serve and support, but we also become tools of the divine itself. The divine utilizes us, and we start to become privy to, I believe this is one of the greatest gifts. We understand in a whole new way the agenda of the light. Yep. And what I refer to now in the last few years is God's will and God's plan for lighted creation. And now that I understand that so much more, and I see that, and I'm part of it, I don't get as thrown off by those things. But if it was in front of my face, if I had to witness it, I would be thrown off. You know what I mean? It's the knowing of it and the being neutral about it is what allows me to be of service and support. And if it was right in front of my face, I'd be there, blubbering and crying, just like any other person, because that's painful.
And I feel those are what the different levels of it. So it comes around, it keeps coming around, then to see where you are with that experience that you are being a witness to. So I've had so many messages, Lori, these past several days, especially last night I was talking to Mom, and she was just so heart-wrenched for this gentleman, and they just right in the street, they hung him. And so, but like now, one of the soccer, right now we're in World Cup, right? So one of the Iranian soccer players, because he stood up for the woman, right, they just ordered his execution, just like that. So my mom, cause she was so, devastated. So it was so incredible that I was able to speak with her from a very different place. And this is why it's come around, because 3 years ago, when this uprising again took place, I was so pulled, and I couldn't, my emotional body was so hammered by it. And this is why I'm sharing this with the audience, because things like this are going to come up to give the ability with what is within your emotional body to surface, so you can face it and face it and face it till you can come to this place of neutrality, which is that mastery. Then from there, from that grace of it, to address it. And I felt like, for me on a personal level, last night, with this heated thing right now that's taking place, that's very relevant, so many messages that I'm getting, it was so interesting to be able to address it from the lens of divinity, what this is, and have my mom come to that place and have her system calm down, so she can also see it, where she can see it through a shift of awareness differently rather than being pulled in. And I feel this is why in this ascension walk, we are facing these, and some days we're better at it and some days we're not, because what's stored in this emotional body that's surfacing, that has to continuously get clearer and clearer and clearer. And it's getting a bit easier in its mechanic, because the heart standing is kicked in, and the mechanics of it is more like, doesn't feel like it's so out of control. It seems like there is a charge control that you actually can, again, lack of a better word, navigate this in a much more harmonious, synchronized way that is connected to the soul mission, connected, and it's no longer just in a thought or mental plane. It's actually the walk of it, the embodiment. And it's wonderful to be a witness of it and share it within ourselves and on others. And I feel that's what becomes then more and more available online, like literally online within this collective energy. Yeah. Whenever one of us can go through it, then that becomes available for others as well, successfully.
I'm so glad, Reverend HoniB, that you were able to, facilitate that for your mom and to assist. Like, that right there is huge, because we often don't realize that, in our everyday lives, we don't realize that the positive upliftment of one person uplifts the whole of humanity. So by you being able to facilitate, your mother working through that, you literally uplifted the whole of humanity. And unfortunately, sadly, that what is going on in Iran, obviously your mother is also indication how something can happen to one person and bring down the whole of humanity. Just because your mother got upset, naturally, that's what brings us down, because that pain and suffering was shared and she took that on. And you, as a healer and as a master in your own right, were able to neutralize that and therefore raise frequency. And it's those little things we don't everyday humans don't recognize how significant that is, but it really is what's allowing us to flow through this more gracefully than we might have gone through it. So,
and that's what we
I honor you.
Thank you, love. And that's what we just shared this, and it was just the only thing why I'm sharing this, because this is here I am with my son holding him. This gentleman is right my son's age. I'm with him last night holding him, and I just held him in that love and trust that the opposite of it is happening, yet appreciating this moment, so that how incredible the soul's journey is that has come to earth to have different experiences, and to to allow what is playing out. You play that, yet you can hold the vision of light. And that's where I went to my mom. I said, Mom, don't get pulled in. Let's sit in the vision. What do you want to see instead there? Do you want to see all these young ones? They're all like your grandsons, age. Let's see the vision. They're free. Let's see. We went into visions and she felt lifted and lifted and lifted. But what was the key is I stayed right here. I didn't get pulled into that because I watched it, Lori, because in a second, as a mother, I could have very easily dropped into that, like thrown around, which I have in the past. So that was that moment, like, okay, I got this part. See what I mean? And I was able to share it from that place.
You found yourself in a state of your own mastery.
In that moment. And we're going to have hundreds of moments, hundreds of grocery store, car, passing through the light and, all kinds of stuff. And that's why it's important to share examples and how delicate this gorgeous walk of ascension is. And some days it's truly fantastic. Like there's that sweet nectar there's that bitter sweetness. It's like that fantastic dark chocolate, right? Like it's bitter and sweet.
And then the other days too, is that sometimes, you're not going to be in your mastery.
Nope.
And you're going to have the opportunity to witness yourself not being at your best. And in those times, you get the opportunity to love yourself through your imperfections. And that's not really as fun, but it is part of mastery too.
Absolutely.
To be able to love yourself through the moments where you wish you had done better or said something better, or, you could have been better, but you just in that moment felt that you weren't able to be your best, or for whatever reason, you weren't your best. Yeah. And those times you get to love yourself through that. That is mastery in and of itself.
Absolutely.
With all your imperfections, with all your flaws, with all your so-called mistakes, recognizing that you are a human going through this ascension experience, doing your best, and you're going to be, you're flawed at the same time. You're perfectly imperfect and imperfectly.
And with that, that to remember and know that this is a journey. That's why we call it ascension journey. So you're going to be given that opportunity and those moments when you're flat on your face, literally, like, and you've fallen. And that's the part that you got to really love, because you're going to be given opportunity again and again and again from a place of love to be able to also alchemize that into love. And how sweet that is, that nectar of that. And there are these moments that I was like, I feel so joyous, because to know what's on the other side of it, we've tasted it once we've come on the other side of it, and how fantastic and liberating it is, because this victorious wings keep growing, keep getting stronger. And there's a preciousness in this ascension walk that, after all the tumultuous heavy ones have kind of lifted, it begins to be experienced more of this preciousness, not so much like, oh, this is horrific. And I thank you for your share, dear Lori, just your wisdom, the lens, and the value in which you recognize what this ascension journey is. I have so much value for you, for your answer to this call, and the walk of this alchemized ascension that is continuous. And with that, I want to just bring this to a closure. What do you have going on that my audience can learn about, events, classes, whatever is going on, so they can contact you? Give us a little bit of that insight, please.
Well, let me say, the big event I have coming up is actually a retreat here in Florida on the West Coast. We call it a light worker boot camp, but really what it is about getting into the sacred center, really opening our core pillar and clearing out that which is in resistance to, or in opposition to, or in any form of the duality, the dualistic experience that's keeping us stuck or entangled in that old paradigm, and really bringing in that light that allows us to anchor more wholly, fully, and completely in this new paradigm, and in a way that our really our core frequency, our core vibration is the vibration of love, of peace, of the divine that's meant to flow through us. So that retreat is coming up in January, and that's on my website at lorispagna.com.
And when is it in January? This is fantastic because that's necessary. It's January when?
I think it's the, oh my gosh, I don't have the dates in front of me, but I think it's the 23rd to the 29th.
I'll put that at the bottom of this YouTube link.
I can give you a link for it.
Yeah, I put it as soon as we finish, upload it so people can get in touch with you. Fantastic.
Yeah, it's the third week.
2 days or 3 days or 1 day?
No, it's like a 5-day. It's a long
5. Okay, yeah. Fantastic.
And the other thing I'll say is that if anyone wants to just, keep in touch with me, they can head over to lorispagna.com and they can get some amazing gifts there, like activating their DNA and class and a workshop on how to activate your DNA. And they can learn a lot about animal communication and telepathy with a free class that's there. And there's some stuff about understanding the role of the indigo family tribes and the star seeds, and how to know
fantastic things in there. I'm going to upload that on here as well so my audience can learn about it. That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's January 25th through January 29th.
There you go. Perfect. Thank you so much.
lorispagna.com. Yeah.
Perfect. Oh, thank you. And any last words for the audience before we sign off, dear Lori?
Just to not give up faith or hope, because I think what's going on a lot of times is when things don't go the way we think that they're going to go. Like a lot of people have been steered off path, I think, a little over the past few years, because first there was a very unrealistic, I think, or maybe it wasn't unrealistic at the time, but maybe now we can see it that way. There was a perspective that like everyone's going to wake up and just be like, oh, and that was going to be it. And that's just not the way free will operates. And that's not the way the game of duality operates. So for people who thought that that was going to happen, there's been a lot of like steering off course and a lot of loss of hope and faith and trust. And if anything, 2020 through 2022 has been an opportunity. They all have, in numerology, they all have the number 4, which is sort of like hard work, foundation building. And 22, they are 22 really, which is about stepping into mastery. And mastery requires us, as we said, to work with our consciousness. So the point I'm trying to make is, for those who may have felt like a loss of hope, faith, and trust, this is a time for us to strengthen that hope, faith, and trust, to understand that there is a divine plan. And if you don't know it, that's why we invite you. I know, Rev HoniB, I know you're doing tons of events too. Come to events where you can really understand that hope, faith, and trust isn't blind faith. It is about really seeing and understanding and embodying the greater plan from a visionary perspective, so that it becomes a foundation. It's not old paradigm definition of hope, faith, and trust. It's really a kind of certainty and knowing of what's going on, a new kind of perceiving and being. And so I just want to encourage people to understand that, and to please not lose hope, faith, and trust, in spite of so many of the horrendous things going on Earth that really are a call to awakening and a call to free will choice to change, to ask us to really see this old paradigm is not working, not serving, and that we are the solution that changes from within, and therefore has power, real power within us to change the external reality. And that's what I want to invite people to, and to come to our events so that we can really facilitate and help with that as well.
Yeah, hold to that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, I really want to honor you, because even though we're relatively new acquaintances, I just want to say I really am so grateful to see such a beautiful light in you. And I just honor and respect the light in you. And I'm grateful to know you, and I'm looking forward to knowing you more as a friend who lives locally. So And thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. I receive that in all my heart, as I feel the same about you, just getting joy and that deliciousness, because it is that wonderful radiance of the soul consciousness that comes together and wants to dance, literally dance the creation energy together. And that's what always brings me a lot of extra, I just feel, I can't help myself but to feel that inside of me and share it. So I love you so much, Lori. Thank you so much for being available today with your busy schedule. I value, appreciate you. And I know my audience really also appreciated what you brought up. And again, back to the audience, thank you so much for being here. If this material served you in any way, or part of the ascension is to share it freely with your love. Post it other places. Lori has incredible retreat coming up. And I cannot say enough about how important it is these blockages are addressed, because creators' love is ready to move through you. And these things that always showed, it bends the light. So experience what Lori has to offer, all her offerings, and let yourself receive so you can expand greater. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, Lori, and have a beautiful, blessed Wednesday, everyone. Much love. I hope.